Okay.
All right.
Okay, game face on. Game face. Hi there. Chris here with another Way the Brush conversation. This week, we are going to talk to Giancarlo, a.k.a. Johnny Wraith, be joining us today. So welcome, Giancarlo, Johnny Wraith. I'm just going to say, is it always just Giancarlo? Or is it, can I just say Yan? Or Carlo? Or would you be insulted by either?
If you say Juan at any time, then know that you are insulting my name. Uh,
Okay.
So Juan, never Juan.
Never won. Did I say it wrong again?
You said
Yan?
Jan, which is
Yan?
yeah,
Yan?
yeah,
Yan? Yan?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good enough. Like
Okay, it's good enough.
it's good enough.
Oh, man, I know. So, welcome to Way the Brush Conversation. Basically, it's your opportunity to ask whatever question you want. Maybe you want to introduce yourself to the world, maybe help people get to better know Johnny Wraith because, it's such a mysterious sounding name, Johnny Wraith. It's kind of like Ghost Rider. Is that what it is? Is it like a whole? Are you a fan of Ghost Rider comics?
Well, yes, I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of the Ghost Rider. Like I've always been very attracted to that sort of imagery, like the skulls and bikers, like that. That's always been, really cool to me. But the name actually came from a couple of years ago. My friends and I were, kind of made like pretend rock band.
Oh, okay.
And so we gave each other, our stage names, right? And we all kind of went with an undead theme, right? So I came up with Johnny Wraith, and we had like a Sonny Ghoul, and it kind of went like that, and it kind of stuck. Like I liked it as my online handle. So that's what who I've been, for all these years. Yeah.
Has it been many years that you've had this handle? Like, do you play video games and use this handle?
Yeah, it's my Steam name. It's been this way for I don't know, maybe 8 years, 7 years, something like that. Yeah.
So you're infamously Johnny Wraith.
Yeah,
So anybody who's gamed or played against Johnny Wraith, they tune into this video and they're gonna say, "This is the SOB that's was kicking my ass at video games the other night."
Yeah. Put a face to the jerk. Yeah.
Okay, and so you're calling us today from Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Yeah.
And it's nice. What time zone is it for you right now? Like, what time is it for you?
It's 2:30, so it's
An hour
I think
behind me.
it's Central Time.
Central? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's 3 something for me.
Right, but the difference is that we don't change. That we don't have daylight savings time. So
Oh, really?
yeah, we don't change the clocks every a couple times a year.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I figured everybody did. But shows what I know.
No, that's just confusing for everyone, and some of us decided that there's no point in doing that really.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, okay, do you guys experience any kind of winter, or is it just nice and warm all the damn time?
It's nice and warm all the damn time. It's actually like where I am. I'm in the capital.
Okay.
Which is in it's a city, like it's kind of up in the mountains, but it's in the center portion of the country, and it's always it's in the 60s or the 70s all year round.
Oh man.
Like it's not too cold, not too hot, and it just we just have like a rainy season and a dry season.
What's the rainy season like?
It can rain like cats and dogs.
Yeah, like is it like nonstop for like days? It's like a monsoon season kind of thing, or?
No, actually, it follows like a kind of funny pattern of like in the morning it's like clear blue skies, beautiful, and then like about noon or 1 o'clock, like all the black clouds form, and it rains nonstop until morning, and
Really?
then it starts all over again.
That's awesome. That sounds really nice there. And I imagine getting miniatures painted in that kind of climate can be a challenge.
Yeah, I mean it's I think it's 100% humidity here.
So you don't need a
Where
wet palette then.
yeah, I'm actually I still need it. Like
Yeah.
I don't know where I put it, but oh, here. Like I know you said the other day that it was your like the Jedi thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I had to build my own, and
Awesome.
so I could call myself a painter, I guess.
A Jedi now?
Miniature painter.
Yeah, you're a miniature painter now. You've made your own
Yeah,
wet palette.
exactly.
It's the mark of a true man or painter.
Yes.
A true painter. There
Yep.
we go.
True painter.
True
Let's
painter.
not be sexist here.
Yeah, right. For the
Yeah.
odd handful of girls who tune in for this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a girl in the last episode.
Oh, Dreddy, yeah. Tia.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
She's
I was actually it was kind of funny. She was talking a lot about how she liked Nurgle,
yeah.
and she actually ended up being episode 7, which I think is Nurgle's number.
Yeah. That
So
oh, it's all I know it's all scary the way these things line up. Don't freak me out. I know.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
read the signs and portents as well. And I freak myself out. I don't need anybody else helping me. Free to feed these little goblins that run around in my head. So, wargaming. How long have you been wargaming?
Actually, not as long as a lot of the people that listen to your show. It's only been a year and a half.
Okay.
But I think the funny thing is that I've been a lot closer to Warhammer than I knew.
Okay.
Like for a long time. Like I've always like I started playing role playing games when I was about 14, 13, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And you know I was the kind of person that plays role playing games that likes creating their own settings and like the world and the campaigns and all that. And
The DM.
yeah. And you know, I used to draw a lot of inspiration from just looking at images and stuff like that, right? Like concept art and all that. And
Movies and such.
yeah, I mean that as well. But some of the images that I ended up liking a lot, or that that drew me a lot, were actually 40K related stuff. Like I remember like having this setting that I was creating, and one of the orders, I guess, that I came up with drew a lot from Black Templar images that I had found. That I had no idea that they were Black Templars, but they were these Fraceta, Boris Vallejo kind of imagery, like like Death Leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of art. But it was Black Templars, and
Yeah.
and so like this like I didn't even know what 40K was, and I didn't know it for a long time, and I actually like just now realized that those images that I liked so much were actually 40K. And I
That's
actually
kinda funny.
played Warhammer role-playing game a couple of years ago without knowing that miniature wargaming existed.
Huh.
So it's like I've been like 40K and miniature wargaming has been parallel to what I've liked,
Yeah.
but I never realized it existed, um, and I kind of avoided it for a while. Like when, like I probably a couple of friends of mine showed me some I think it was like some Dark Eldar vehicles like they had assembled and were trying to paint, and I thought it was really cool and all, but I know myself, and I know I'm a very, very obsessive person, and I knew that if I started playing that it would be like a money sink,
Yeah.
and and that's what it ended up being. And so I don't know. I don't regret it, but you know, I knew I was gonna get obsessed with it,
Right.
and so I avoided it for a bit. But it took me anyway, and yeah, so it's been a year and a half. I have a really big shelf here with a lot of great models that I need to paint.
What armies do you collect, or army?
It's Chaos, both Space Marines, both Chaos Space Marines and Demons.
Okay.
I think I have an equal size of both. Um, and yeah, I'm actually looking into another army actually. Like I kind of want to try Dark Eldar and Eldar maybe.
Eldar's the
Yeah.
best. Why not? Harlequins will test your metal against painting. See how, because Harlequins, you know, they have all the little stripes and diamonds, and you know. You really,
Yeah, they were one of the like when I started playing, like my friends told me like just, you know, go to the website, look through models, look through the artwork, and you know, figure out what you like.
Yeah.
And Harlequins were actually one of my favorite ones. So yeah, I mean, the only reason why I haven't gotten them now is because I look at the gray mess that I have right now,
Right.
and I'm trying to, you know, hold off on that until
Yeah.
I paint a little more.
Being there.
Yeah.
Now to go back a page here. Yeah, that's your introduction to wargaming. I don't think I've ever really heard it go through that path of the role playing. I mean, a lot of wargamers have all done the D&D thing, but when we get into the tabletop gaming, it's usually one of those little gateway games like Space Hulk or Man of War, or you know, something like that that kind of gets us into the whole Games Workshop universe, the 40K stuff, or Warhammer Fantasy. And so to hear it coming from really the still maintaining from the D&D side of things is kind of interesting. And I don't know if there's a lot of people out there that has been the same path, because a lot of times, you know, I hear it's, you know, things like Space Hulk and, you know what I mean, like all these other little small games that got them into Warhammer. And it's just very interesting that, you know, you had D&D so long in your life, and then all of a sudden it just kind of crept into turning into wargaming. That's just interesting.
Yeah. I think, I mean, yeah, I mean, role playing was my thing for quite a long time. Like I started with D&D, then went with I don't know if you've heard about White Wolf, which is still a role playing game. It's just that it's not like it's a little less dice rolling, and a little less tactics, I guess, and a little more storytelling. So I went through White Wolf. I went through, well, like I said, Warhammer role playing. I think it's called Rogue Trader.
Yeah, Rogue Trader.
Yeah, and yeah, I think the thing that got me hooked was that my friends, you know, went to my friend's house, and it was like 4 or 5 of us, and they said like, you want to try this kill teams thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I mean, it was an easy sell because all the artwork and all of that, all the aesthetics, I was already sold on for so many years. I just didn't know
Right.
it related to this. And so then I saw the miniatures, and it was like, oh, they're so cool. And yeah, I mean, it was an easy sell.
Now,
really.
when you say the artwork, like, really captured you, are you an artist? Do you create pieces as well, or no?
No, I'm not an artist. Okay, let's see. My it's just been, art has been really close to me throughout all my life. It's just that I'm not an artist. Like
Okay.
both my parents, they're both graphic designers.
Okay.
So I've had that. And then like with my job, like I've had to talk to a lot of designers as well. So I'm always surrounded by designers, really.
Okay.
And like I've always appreciated art. I've always loved art. I love I love colors. I love color theory. Like I love all of that. It's just that I never really felt like I was that proficient in it. To take up graphic design or the more pure art forms. Right?
Paint on canvas kind of thing.
Yeah, and but still, like this, like that's another of the hooks for me for miniature wargaming is the fact that this is something that I've always wanted to be an artist, and so this is my way of being one. I guess
it's an outlet.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I hear you. Very good. Very cool. So, did you have any questions for me today?
Yeah. Okay. Now that we're in the topic of artists,
Yeah. See,
actually
that's how I segued that.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we delve into actual the miniatures and all that, I was talking to this proper artist friend of mine like a year ago, and we were talking about how when she paints on canvas, right? So she told me that she had this thing where she would obsess about whatever she was doing at the time, like whatever painting she was working on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she would obsess over it until she saw what she wanted to paint, and she was just trying to put it on the canvas. But then a couple of weeks after she was done, she started hating it, and she couldn't look at it again.
Okay.
And that was interesting for me because that's something that I feel the same way. I feel the same way either with miniatures or I used to do in my more video game life. I skinned racing Formula One cars.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So made libraries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the same thing happened to me. Like I would not sleep at night thinking about how I wanted to paint the car. And then when I was finally done, I would look at it again like a couple of weeks later, and I would hate it and saw all the errors. I just didn't like it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And she felt the same way. So I actually wanted to ask you if that ever happened to you, like if it happens to you because I know you do like the more traditional art.
Mm-hmm.
or if it happens to you in the miniatures.
It does happen to me on canvas work, because I work on canvas. I also work on digital format as well, just on my computer, and of course I do the miniatures. And all three, yeah, I've had those moments where I'm working on something and I'm in love with it in the first 10 minutes, right? I'm starting to lay color down. I'm loving this, and also I'm laying some shadows down, and like I'm talking miniatures at the moment, and I'm laying the shadows down, and everything's just coming together nicely. And then I start laying that secondary color down, or I start laying the highlights and stuff, and then I go and do another project, and I come back to it, and then I look at it and I go, oh wait, oh, that looks like crap. What was I thinking there at that moment? And yet, at the moment when I was laying it down, I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and yet I was completely wrong. At least at the moment. But then when I ask other people about it, and they're like, oh no, it works for me. I think maybe you just add a little bit more detail here or something like that. And so it all depends, because if it is a piece that I need to have done at a certain point, then I suck it up and finish the piece. And then I tell myself in the back of my brain that the next one I do, I'll do better. I'll do it the right way. For canvas work and things like that, yeah, I'm with miniature painting as well as my canvas work and stuff like that. I do take lots of little breaks where I'll work on something. I'll get something occurring on canvas or on the model, and when I'm starting to get to that point where I'm starting to feel like I'm in love with it, I'll walk away, go do something else, and then I'll come back and still see if I'm still in love with it. And if I'm excited to come back to it and work some more on it, then I will. But otherwise, yeah, I do take lots of breaks when I do paint, and my canvas work is kind of the same way. I'll take lots of little breaks, and I'll lay some paint down, and I'll create some blends, and then it's like, well, is this really the right way? I think it is. I think I'm going to go grab a tea or something like that, and I'll walk away for a bit, and then I'll come back and, oh, no, it's not working. I'm going to have to scrape that all off, and you know what I mean? And come back to it later, or come at it a different angle, or, something else. It just wasn't quite the same. But yeah, I mean, I've had those moments where I've hated it. Miniatures, for the most part, in the last couple of years, because, the miniature painting has become my 9 to 5, my day job, right? That... I have now more like deadlines towards things, and projects have to get completed. Otherwise, I'm not afforded the ability to scrap a project halfway through and start a new one just because, I'm feeling finicky about it. And, I'm not afforded that. And so I have to kind of suck it up. And so sometimes when I release models or release a video or something like that, yeah, I'm not 100% behind it. Like the last one I did was the Solitaire, the Harlequin Solitaire.
Yep.
And there was still a whole bunch more stuff I could have done to that, but in the time that I got it done, I'm mostly happy with it. But there's still more I could have done. Even Nagash is another one where I put quite a bit of time into it, and I still could have put way more time, like double the amount of time into it, and really made it shine. But
so I mean, you still get that, but you still get that urge, like when you see a model or you see, you want to paint something a certain way, like you have a vision, right, of what you want, and then what I'm getting is that you also get that. I mean, I can't think of a better word than urge to get that vision into the medium that you're working on, whatever it is.
Yeah, so, I do get the urge. I'll see a model. Like sometimes, like today on Way of the Brush, we were talking about this new Kickstarter, and there was one model these guys are producing that just looks really, really cool, and I can kind of see colors on it and how I would do it and things like that. Of course, I would have to allot the time to do this project, and so it's more of a wish list kind of thing. But yeah, I see models out there that I'd love to do. Another company like Kingdom Death, they produce some really wild looking models, and I would love to do one of their models. I just haven't gotten around to picking any up, of course, because, well, the subject matter I can't really quite cover in many wargaming's videos, right? So, because the models are a little bit spicy, a little bit fresh. No, not fresh.
No.
Racy? There we go. Racy.
Yeah.
We'll go with racy.
All right.
But yeah, no, I understand, and I've been there quite a few times where I was in love with something, and then hated it, and then But unfortunately for me, a lot of the video stuff, I still have to display it, even though I might hate it. I still have to display it because that's just the nature of my job, right? I mean, I'm no longer an artist painting, for creativity's sake. I'm more more or less just producing. I'm just a
Right.
producer now, and yeah, it's not very often that I get to go full creative. And in fact, it's usually my video work now where I can get a little bit more creative on things.
Well, this conversation quickly turned into a very depressive, sad one.
No, not even. It's not sad. I mean, it's not like
I mean, the way you're putting it. I mean, I know you've talked about this many times in the past, and I know how you feel about it. It's just, we went from just seeing things that we needed to put on a medium, and then the sadness of having to
produce.
Yeah,
it's the
Sell
golden
out.
it's the golden goose being forced to produce golden eggs all day long. That's what it is. You're talking to the golden goose right now. No, it's not. It's not, because I mean, I've been lucky enough that I've been able to turn my hobby into my job. And there's so many people out there right now who are trying to get the same thing to happen. And unfortunately, this market is such a small niche market that goal, you have to be really exceptional. I got lucky. I'm not exceptional. I got lucky. And somebody out there who's really exceptional will surpass everything we do. And they'll be the next fortunate one who gets to live the dream, as it were, right?
right.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about this whole thing right now.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about like working on something that you like a lot. Like, I mean, just like wargaming. Like, I don't know if I would want to work. Like, I don't necessarily understand people that work in something that they like or that they love. Like, for me, work is just, I mean, it's just like, I have to do it,
Right.
and everything I love is outside of work.
You're right.
And it's not that I hate my job or anything like that. Like, I actually like, I'm actually my own boss, and like, I'm a freelancer, so
Yeah.
I'm my own boss, and so it's not that I hate it or anything, but it's just,
Yeah.
like, I would rather be playing 40K or painting. Or,
Well, it's the difference between a job or work and a career. And I went to school for art, and so I feel more that I'm staying within my career path, even though I'm just painting miniatures. But at least I'm teaching and instructing essentially a miniature art class, right? And so at
Right.
least that helps me mentally think about how all this works, right? I mean, rather than sitting around playing with Space Marines all day. And, like a job, yeah, you go out and, you dig a ditch, or, you're part of a building crew and you're putting up houses, and, that's a job, right? Nobody goes to school to, put up 2x4s, or, you know what I mean? I mean, they do go to school for like welding and things like that, but I mean, that's a trade, right? And it's not the same. And, a career, really, it's that question of, when you were a kid, right? They asked you, what do you want to do all day? What would make you happy? What do you want to do with your life? And if you say, I like to fix cars, well, then you become a mechanic, right? And that's your career path. And, me, I could have gone one of two ways. I loved to draw and paint when I was small, and, my parents were a big influence on my artist ability because both my parents are very creative individuals, and I could have either stayed with the art, or I could just as easily join the military and you know shot at people and drop bombs and things like that. Because that was also a very real possibility, is that I would have joined the military. I would most likely would have joined the U.S. Marine Corps, like a lot of my family has.
So you are now painting and pretending to shoot people, and instead of shooting people and
Painting,
pretending to paint.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
And there's a few viewers who I know they are servicemen, and yeah, that's essentially what they do. They do the opposite of what I could have been. I could have been right in their shoes, and and so they always get lots of love and respect from me because I know that could very well have been my path as well. And so yeah, but yeah, I mean, we joke about living the dream kind of thing, and of course, everybody teases me because they see me sitting here painting all day, and there's Chris living the dream again, But
Yeah, no, I can see why they say that. I just think that, I think it's just the fact that I have to do it, that I would have to do it, or that I would have to do it every day, that would draw, like, the pleasure and excitement or whatever I get from it.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that part too is as long as you're really passionate about it, and as long as you're really knowledgeable about it, and you live and breathe it, then you don't have to worry about so much. Like I've personally, I've been fighting a little bout of burnout for a while. I've been feeling a little bit burned out, but I've been fighting it and keeping it off. And really, what it is I just every day I just think of something new and creative and something else I can maybe show somebody how to do something, or maybe I'll paint it a different way today, and and it kind of falls back to the canvas work where we really love something at first, and then all of a sudden we look at it and we're kind of hating it, and I try not to let myself hate it. I try not to let that side of it get me down, and if I'm just not completely satisfied with it, well then how do I make lemonade out of these lemons kind of things, right? And how do I reverse this? How do I roll with that punch to turn that around and maybe fall back in love with it again, And it's all daily challenges. It's we all have our ways of dealing with these kinds of things, and it essentially is rolling with the punches,
Exactly. It's a more mature approach, really.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, I said I don't understand, people that see it that way, but by no means am I saying that it's a bad thing or anything like that. We're all different, so if it works for you, then great. Obviously you've made it work, so all the power to you.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm just trying to make you feel better, dude. Like, if you don't just accept it, and you have you have a bunch of people from all over the world that that are following what you do, and you get a lot of happiness and whatnot. I don't know what people get out of your shows. Maybe some people get some
dude,
stuff.
You're asking that right now, but I've asked that all the time. What do people get out of my show? That's why I try to stay at least informative, because and I get compliments. People love the show. They really enjoyed it. They laugh. They feel like they learned something, and so it makes me feel good, and it also helps kind of reinvigorate me as well. That at least, okay, I know my work is being appreciated, and I know that even the stuff that I'm not particularly proud of or happy with or whatever, that at least somebody is still getting something out of it, that I can still love it. And I think that's really what it is. It's the feedback. And artists of any medium, they do need that feedback. that they do need people to question it, to understand it. And some people, some artists, they'll produce work that's very controversial, and so they feed off that negative energy and they make something positive out of it, right? And some people who, just feed off the positive and want to produce more positive stuff. And so it's artists are they're mirrors and they're little filters of the world, and a lot of artists perceive the world in different ways, and some really kind of see only the ugly side, and some only see the really beautiful side, and some want to illuminate people to the truth about something, and some just simply want to paint something beautiful. And some people want to create the art erotic, and some want to create the horror, and and it's all different, these all different filters. And it's kind of like it's like a human race with a multifaceted eye, like a fly, where every artist is like one of those little lenses, and we show humanity all the many facets of this world. And all good art challenges the viewer. Whether you love it or hate it, it all should get a reaction, and it all should challenge the viewer. And that's just the nature of good art, is it gets a response. Even if people go, oh, this is complete garbage, that's still a reaction, and it's still good art. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I find that all very, very interesting. Like I said, I've been surrounded by artists all my life.
And so I imagine you've met some kooky characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't tell. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Like, I don't know. Or maybe they're the sane ones.
No, they're crazy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And going back to the feedback thing, like I think I've sent this to you in an email before, but I'll say it again, is that as I mentioned in this conversation, like I have been close to art a lot of time, but I never felt like I was had the skills to do it. And I think one of the main reasons why I've started to like painting and all that is because I saw your videos, and I felt I could do it, right? And I think you definitely teach very well. Like
thank you.
Yeah, be it the technique itself, or just getting out of yourself, out of your comfort zone maybe a bit, and just throwing yourself out there, and try to come up with anything. I think you give good encouragement, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do try and encourage. I know people, they send in, pictures and stuff that I say, well, be brutally honest. And oftentimes, when critics, they're brutally honest, they're being brutal just for the sake of being brutal. And I don't think that's entirely necessary. I often like to use, the sandwich technique, where we give something positive, we give something negative, but we finish on a positive. And I like that technique because it kind of softens the blow, because, some painters, a lot of painters are very egocentric when it comes to their painting, and we all gauge our painting worth, and so for whatever reason, people want to view me as some sort of painting authority, and so I don't really see myself in that position, and so that's why I probably don't really give really brutal critiques, because I don't know. Who am I? Right? I'm just some schmuck. I like it, and what I see, there's a lot of paint jobs out there that I'm like, okay, well, he needs work. Yeah, his paint's a little heavy, but he's on the right track. Keep at it, keep going, and let me see the next thing you do. And hopefully people are taking in the advice, and they are improving a little bit. And You know, nobody gets this on the first try. Everybody falls. And, you know, I mean, they'd have to be some sort of miniature painting savant to, you know, come out of the starting gate and be a master at this right away. And I really haven't seen that. Everybody who you see on the internet who just paints just beautiful stuff, they've been at it for a long time. You know, and yeah. And unfortunately, miniature painting, I mean, like, as far as, like, the art scene, the art world, I don't think this would ever be, like, something that you would see in galleries. I don't know. I mean, I can't see the future, but I don't think this would be something you'd see in art galleries, even though...
I've seen weirder things in art galleries, man. So.
Well, I think because of the commercial nature of this, I think is why you wouldn't, right? Whereas, say, for example, there was a miniature sculptor who didn't produce his work commercially and painted his models and then put them on display. And, you know what I mean? He had no commercial ties. He simply produced these pieces, you know. I think that might get into a gallery. But otherwise, a bunch of us painting Space Marines, do you think that's gallery worthy? I don't care how beautifully painted they are. I don't think so. You know, so... There is that limitation in this little world, but like I said, this is really a niche market. It's very, very small, but the funny thing is that it is kind of a nexus of skills and abilities, because for people who can paint these little miniatures, there is a place in the job market that these people can go, and that's Hollywood. You're creating short films and stuff like that, working on props and sets and things like that. This is a skill set that can be marketable, and somebody who's really exceptional at this can make a living off of not just, you know, being some schmuck on YouTube, you know, teaching people how to paint, but, you know, actually putting actual effort into a movie and, you know, creating sets and things like that. So, yeah. Anyway, where were we going with all that?
I don't know, man. You just rambled on. I don't know. I turned off.
You turned it
5 minutes ago.
I turned Skype off and went and made a sandwich. I don't know.
Yeah, you said sandwich, and I just got hungry, and this was just like a still, like a photograph.
Yeah, just pretend that the screen froze. Okay, so you sent me an email with some stuff. Let's cover that.
All right. Okay, so I think the first thing that we could talk about would be I think it's kind of a tradition in the show now to show your first miniature.
Yeah.
So out of the pictures that I sent you, there's a chaos hound, like a dog.
Yep.
Yep. So
he's got kind of the turquoise kind of hair and everything. He's got his mouth wide open. Yep. I see him.
So he was the first one. Like the turquoise is actually, you know, that technical paint that is for the verdigris.
Yep.
I don't know what oxide.
Yeah, something oxide. I can never say that name either. I mean, come on, I'm the name butcher, and I'm not even trying to say that one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the I don't know. I just figured.
And so you just use that on just the hair, or?
Yes. Just the hair. Like I wanted to give him sort of kind of a undead.
Yeah, kind of a spectral kind of look. Ghostly. Yeah. I like it.
So yeah, it was just me playing around with. I mean, that was my first model, and I was just playing around with the paints that I had and what I felt, you know, looked cool.
And so, what was this with, like, your gaming friends as well? Like that you painted this, you sat around the table or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a gamer first, I would say. Like that's part of why I have so many gray stuff is because I'm you know, I play weekly, and I don't like playing with the same thing, the same list over and over again.
Right.
So you know, if I have all of these models, it's because I just wanted to play a different list. Then I have more options to come up with something interesting. So yeah, he's part of my Chaos Demons army. He's supposed to be a flesh hound. It's just that like I mean, you'll see from the rest of the pictures, like I don't like the typical colors that the demons have in particular. I don't know, they just look kind of
Goofy?
I don't know, like I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Goofy?
Yeah, I kind of goofy, I guess, and kind of like cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to make things realistic or anything like that. It's just I don't know, it just seemed more interesting in different colors.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm looking at your demonettes. So here, which picture did you want to talk about here?
let me.
Because I'm looking at the picture with all the demonettes.
Okay.
It's just all demonettes.
Yeah. Okay. So for that, actually, I had a couple of questions for those because I'm kind of stuck.
Okay.
With them. So I have them. That's how they're looking right now. And part of the issue that I have is the shading. Like I tried doing the Carabor Crimson shade, but it's too much of a jump, like from the pink that they had. Like I don't know.
What is that pink for the flesh? Like what is the flesh color?
Okay, let's see. The flesh is 3 parts ceramide white, 1 drop of this is Vallejo skin tone.
Yeah.
And like a tiny drop of Mephiston red.
Okay. So it's a very, very dilute pinky color, right?
Yeah, with kind of like the fleshy hue. So that's the color they are, and so I actually like it looks more like in the picture it looks more like the one on the right, I guess. Like it's a little lighter than the one on the with the horn thingy.
Yeah.
That one looks a little more pink, but
well, it looks like more of the color is concentrated down at the legs for the one with the horn, versus the one with the hair. It looks like more of the color is concentrated up at the head and shoulders.
Yeah, I think that's more of a like the lighting.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say it's more like the one on the right, like the legs. That's probably the color that they all are. And so I tried that shade, the crimson shade, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's a little harsh of a transition, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of magenta in it, as well as the red, and yeah, you're building up this really subtle tone, right? You want to keep this flesh really kind of light and pallid, right?
Yeah, and I should say that I'm actually like the highlights that I want to do with them is it's actually adding like more white. I get more. I have a color witch flesh, I think it's called. It's like a gray, like a very light gray. Like that's what I want to do to highlight.
Yep.
So it's gonna end up looking more grayish.
Yeah.
So yeah, the magenta from the shade is just too strong, I feel.
Yeah. Now one thing you could do, okay? Now if it's going on too strong, is you can thin the Carbo Crimson down with a little bit of Lamayan Medium. Right? I really wouldn't use water. I'd rather keep with Lamayan Medium because it keeps the pigment flowing properly, and it doesn't change the viscosity of the paint, right? It still makes it flow like a paint. And I would add 2 little drops of like Lamayan Medium to 1 drop of Carbo Crimson, and then when you're putting the wash down, push the wash towards your recesses. So say for example the leg, you're pushing the wash towards the toes, and from the knee up you're pushing it towards the pelvis. And so, for example, the chests, you're pushing more of the wash towards the cleavage and under the breast, as well as the armpits. And you're pushing on the faces, you're pushing more of the wash towards the underneath the jaw and the brow, and as well as behind the ears and the bottom curvature of the back of the head, kind of thing, right? And you're just slightly tinting these areas. Now you can hit the entire thing, the entire surface, but you're going to push more of that color towards the points of where you want the darkness to fall. It is a bit of a subtlety exercise, but I think because you don't want to push your contrast too far. I'm feeling anyway that you don't want to push the contrast too far as how dark the shadows get on the flesh areas. Mm-hmm. Because it looks like you're gonna allow like the crab arms and like the cloth bits, like their little what are those corsets? The corsets they're wearing. I get the feeling that you want those to be the elements of contrast, as well as the hair, right? Because the hair is probably not going to get much brighter than that.
No, probably not.
Yeah, and yeah. So if you want to stick with cardboard crimson, I would say apply it, thin it down, and apply it that way. You could probably do one coat, see if you like how far you're going, and if you want to go, then you can go a second coat, right? Essentially, you're glazing at this point, but you're shading your glazes, right? You're building up your shadows, and you can be very deliberate. And of course, it's going to take you a little while to get these layers down, but I think you might be a little bit happier with your end result, as you're not going to push your contrast too far. Another one is Druchii Violet. A little bit of purple, a little hint of purple, in places like the cleavage, the pelvis, the toes, maybe where the flesh meets the crab arms. You can push a little contrast like that, or even in the eye sockets, right, and just below the eyebrow, kind of gives you a bit of that eyeshadow kind of look. Right. If you push a little bit of purple into those areas, you know, and also keeps with them feeling unnatural as well, because you don't really want them to look too human, because then it looks kind of odd, and you still want to have them feeling a little bit otherworldly, right? You want them to feel a little bit supernatural.
Yeah. So what if like I've seen in a lot of videos that you do that sometimes you take a particular paint, and then you put the medium, like you thin it a lot, and you kind of use it as a wash. Mm-hmm. Like, is that something that you do because you don't have because there's not a wash that has that color? And
essentially I'm making my own shade wash. Yeah,
right. Is that why you do it?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. Is I'll take the color of the paint, a very little bit of the color, I'll take a heavy load of the medium, and then I'll add flow aid. Right. There's other companies that produce this similar type product. Essentially, it's the same thing that's in Liquitex. Liquitex is the only guys I know that it's under the name Flow Aid, but I can't think of I know Reaper sells a Flow Aid as well. But anyway, basically that makes the paint flow like GW shade washes, where it'll fall within the recesses. You know what I mean? It changes the viscosity so it'll do that. And that's what you want out of those shade washes. You want it to tint the surface, but you want it to fall within those cracks and get nice and dark. And I do that a lot in some of the videos, just because, I for example, one of the videos, what the hell was I doing? Oh, Incubi Darkness. I was using Incubi Darkness and making shade washes out of it for the solitaire. And, and I just layer that on in the little shadowed areas just to build up color, and just because I like Incubi Darkness. It's such a fun color.
I figured that when I would ask you this question about the shade, that maybe you would suggest something like that, but I guess my follow-up question would have been how do you figure out the ratio, again, taking the demonette example, if I wanted to make a shade that was that didn't go as far as Druchii Violet or Cardboard Crimson, and I wanted, a shade, like how do I
Yeah,
figure out
th-
the
that's
yeah.
that is a bit of color theory. Now I know I know you know your color theory. And if you want something that looks a little bit more pink and red, but with a little bit of magenta, just
Mhm.
off the top of my head, like GW's Screamer Pink is kind of along the lines where you could take that color and then break it down to a shade and use that to shade, and that might give you a little bit more interesting results.
Okay.
But as far as like a process in which I go through, ooh man, that's a tough one because a lot of times I make that up on the fly and it's just kind of a judgment call, and
Okay.
it's kind of every every situation. And so like for example, if I was looking at your demonettes and I was painting them and Cobra Crimson just wasn't cutting it for me and I wasn't liking how it was looking, because like see how you're envisioning your demonettes is different how I'm seeing them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You have a particular vision on what kind of end color you want, and that's different than how I'm seeing. I know you want to get to that pallid witch flesh, so for me, and also like, and you also don't want to push the contrast because if you get really contrasty on them, then they stop having that feminine quality to them. I find anyway.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if
Yeah.
you push the
Definitely.
contrast too far, you want to keep them kind of soft feeling.
Hmm.
And so if I wanted to push, like, see how, like, okay, I'm looking at just the picture of the girl with just the horn, and I think really what it is now when you're applying the Carbo Crimson,
Hmm.
are you thinning it down at all, or are you just putting it right onto the model?
No, I was putting it right on.
Right onto the model. Okay, yeah. So I would probably thin it down
Okay.
and deliberately apply it to areas that you know shadows are going to fall, right? So like for example, her face, I would apply it into her eye sockets. I would apply it below her cheek, below the ear, under the jawline, into the cleavage of the breast, in through the armpits, down towards the pelvis, and of course the legs. I would draw the shadows up towards the pelvis and down towards the feet, and then start laying my highlight colors back on top. Another route you can go is blending it, but she's so small. I don't know if you really want to bother blending it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not that,
Yeah,
proficient with I want to get there, but by now I'm not there yet. So.
yeah, no, and yeah, everybody to their each of their own time, right? No, like with the Carbo Crimson, yeah. I mean, you could even take the Carbo Crimson and in a 1-to-1 mix a bit of Druchii Violet and push that magenta pretty much right to a purple, and then thin that down and apply it deliberately again, you know.
Okay.
But really, what it is it's pushing those shadows. Just like see, I like the shadow that's on her toe of her one foot that's kind of stepping upwards. I like how
Hmm.
the shadow is in between the toes. I like that deep contrast like that. And on the other foot, I can see it's just below the ankle. I can see it looks like it's on the calf. Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually Carbo Crimson.
yeah.
That
I
I was
like
testing it, testing it out.
well because Carbo Crimson has a lot of magenta in it, right? It's not really a red. It's a magenta.
Yes.
But like for example, her arm that's holding the horn, it looks like there's too much there. I can't quite tell with the picture, but it looks like there's too much on in her armpit area, right below her shoulder muscle.
Hmm.
It looks like there's a little too much shadow there, and so I would pull that back and add a little bit more of that base color back around that muscle, push that shadow in closer towards the armpit. But yeah, it is really an exercise in subtlety, especially with female forms. Oftentimes, you know, with the male and female forms, it is two different kind of styles of painting you have to adopt, and that's probably why so many people don't paint female models. Now, of course, there aren't really that many female models on the market these days, but more and more are coming out there. But of course, they always have the comic book kind of proportions to them. But anyway, yeah, like with the eyes and such, because really a lot of your effort, I think is going to pay off for you when you do her face. and getting all those nice tones nice and smooth on her face, that anything else on her body, I think, is, not going to be a huge issue.
Yeah, I think if you switch to one of the, I think that there's one picture that I sent you that has one of them with like part of a Helldrake next to her.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like that was kind of that was my test one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's just that I can't, like, that was kind of, I think that was I think overbrushing a bit. I think that's what do you call it?
No,
Um,
and what I like is that you have more of the color down at her feet as opposed to up on her thighs. I like that there's more color at her neck than there is, say, for example, on her chest or her arms. I think a little more color on the face, like her eye sockets, and maybe just below her cheek. But otherwise, no, that's really good right there. I like that. I think whatever you did for that really is all that you need to do. Another way you can go about this is having your really bright tone be your base color, and then just build all your shadow downward. And then maybe at the end, just put a little spot highlights here and there. But otherwise, you know what I mean? Like, have your bright color and then build all your shade color downwards, and then you're done, kind of thing, right?
right.
Rather than having your base color, putting a shadow in, and then putting your highlights in, and then you end up with these kind of obvious steps. Because again, I see, like on her legs, I like how you did her legs. I like how in the deep recesses of the feet, we get that alien kind of texture in the feet. She's got these big bird feet, right?
Yep.
And you can see the texture. Yet I can see a transition right at the calf up to the thigh. I can see that it gets darker to lighter, and I like that. It's subtle, and that's really the key factor when doing these models. Keeping these models really subtle. No, I like it.
Yeah. No, I mean these guys were definitely or are a challenge. Like they're very small. So, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the skin was one thing, and then I still have to figure out how to highlight like the leather in the corsets.
Yeah.
And the crab hands.
Yeah.
Like I need to figure out how to highlight those. But
The crab hands, I would highlight those somewhat similar to the hair. And in fact, what I was going to suggest as well is that the eyes, you know how I mentioned like the eyeshadow? What about taking just a slight hint of blue or that navy blue and throwing that into that eye socket, almost like eyeshadow in there, just so that the eyes and hair tie together. And then the crab claws have those hints of blue in them as well. And the corset, I mean, you can hit that with just fine highlights of light gray. I really wouldn't push it to a white or anything like that. I would keep the highlights very, very small so that you preserve that black. I think like making it look like black leather would actually be more fitting of them, give them a bit of that dominatrix kind of feeling.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like doing a black leather. I was just not sure if I wanted to do like more grayish highlights or like some sort of like more bluish.
I would do the highlights gray. You could do them bluish as well if you want. But really the key part is you keep the highlights very, very small and very, very close to the edges of things. For example, I would keep most of the highlights really into the center of them, where all like the little buckles and things are.
Yep.
At least the models that have that feature on, like I'm looking at a couple of them there, and some of them just seems like they just have just a bra or whatever. But yeah, I would keep the highlights very, very small and try to preserve the overall black quality of the areas. Yeah, and for the claws, yeah, I would just give them maybe not as bright a blue as the hair, but the hint of that blue, just like the tips of the claws, kind of thing. I would do that. That way it all ties together, right? Like the hair and the claws are kind of made of a similar material, and because of course when you start venturing into too many colors, the models will become kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think because of how light you want to keep the flesh, I think keeping the hair and the corsets and the claws dark and contrasty, I think will work overall with the models. it'll give you kind of a black and white kind of feeling, but I think that works. Yeah, the flesh is a tough one. I think thinning down the cardboard crimson and pushing it towards the shadow points where you want the shadows to fall. Now, of course, that relies heavily on you to know where you want your shadows. And from your first example, I would stay with that. You know how I mentioned before, pushing the shadows at the pelvis? That might not work on some of them. And so you might want to keep most of your shadows down towards your feet. And in fact, it gives it that more of a bird type quality where, you know, their feet are kind of rough and, you know, because every person you see, right, their feet, like the bottoms of their feet are not the same color as their skin, right? And so that can carry over as well, like birds and things like that, right? Like the bird's feet are not the same color as the rest of the bird. Like once you remove the feathers, of course, right? Like, you know, the bird's foot is kind of yellow and then his flesh is kind of pink and, right? And so, yeah, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. I never got a chance to paint demonettes when I was doing demons.
Oh, you know, actually, that was one of the things that I wanted to tell you, like, how come you didn't do that one? Like, I was eagerly expecting.
You were
like,
dying for that one, right?
And yeah, the demonette one, and especially the fun versions that you did.
Yeah,
like those were the best.
Yeah,
I think.
I like.
And I was like, what? Where's the demonettes? Like, you're almost like GW, not giving anything to Slanesh. Like, they don't have a name greater demon,
right?
Like, it's always the what do you call it, like the hidden stepchild, like
yeah, I know what you mean.
And then you come and you don't do a tutorial for demonettes, and I was like, what's going on?
Because it falls in line with our regular type of content on mini wargaming. Nothing too sexual, nothing, you know, too vulgar, you know what I mean? So that's why. I mean, hey, you and me, demonettes, they're not really that sexual, but hey, I don't make those calls. So that's why there was no demonettes done for that series. You know, the boobies. Well, some of the demons have boobies hanging out, right? So,
but they don't have, like, there's no nipple.
I know. Hey man, you're preaching to the choir here. I mean, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine with nudity in male or female form. I'm fine with it, you know. But you know, some of us aren't, and of course, we have to abide by policies laid out. So, yeah.
Well, at least you can tell Matt next week that, you know, a Vault member was very sad that he didn't get a demonette tutorial.
Yeah, a Vault member was very. You know what though? He would probably take that very seriously. Because I mean, you are a paying member, and so yeah.
Yep. My membership is due to renew like in a week or so. So I mean, that's a major factor that's going into it.
So basically, we're going to blackmail him, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Okay, now let's talk about this Nurgle dude.
Okay. All right. So he's Herald of Nurgle.
Yep.
Like most of my demon, I mean, though I play 40k, like most of my demon stuff, I think it's either from fantasy or from like a completely different range. Like I don't necessarily like all the models from just 40k demons. So this guy's from fantasy, but you know I use it as in my 40k army, and with him. You know, back to what we said about the cartoonish style. Like I didn't want to go that route, so I decided to paint him in a more kind of a pale, fat guy.
Yeah.
That was just, you know, recently deceased maybe, or you know, because he has sort of that purple in the recesses.
Yeah.
One thing with him though that was kind of a problem is that I got like a bad primer can.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of obscured some details. Like I did my
Oh.
best to remove it, and I had to accentuate some of them,
Okay.
like to kind of cover for it. But yeah, I mean, this guy was really fun to paint. Like all the yellow pus
Yeah, I'm
and
looking
all
at
the
that
stuff.
right now.
Super fun.
Yeah, that's pretty gross, dude. In a good way, of course. In
Yeah.
a good way. No, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I
ahead.
think like with the sores, like I'm looking at the picture of his backside, and I think the sores where the pus is running, I think you could have had like that little tint of like pinkish or purple around those sores, just to really illustrate the irritated nature of it. You know, kind of like how I'm looking like his chest. How on his chest it looks like there's one sore that looks really kind of pinkish purple. I don't know if it's just the way the picture looks or
No. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Now, what did you do for that head? Because that's not the stock head.
No, that's a plague bearer head.
Oh, okay.
That I actually lost I completely lost the details on the face with the primer.
Right.
So I kind of made up the eyes. I think there's a similar face in the plague bearer set that has has more than one eye.
Right.
So I mean that I didn't come up with it, but yeah, it's basically just just 3 drops of black, and I glazed it, so they would kind of look like an insect sort of.
Yeah. Well, everything's all about
Like,
the fly with Nurgle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, the face is a bit, I guess it's a bit custom, I guess.
Yeah. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I forgot to, like, one of the things that I forgot with them was to highlight the axe a bit
Oh,
more before I put the rust.
yeah. Now the rust is that Ryza rust, or did you use a pigment or something?
No, that's ricer rust.
That's Ryza rust. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you
Yeah.
stippled that on, or did you dry brush that?
That was dry brush.
Yeah?
I think.
Okay.
It's very textury, that axe.
Yeah.
So I figured, I could dry brush it.
Yeah. No, it's very
Oh.
cool. And the fact that you didn't throw that highlight on the metal doesn't take away from that blade, because really rusty blades like that probably wouldn't have much of a shine even to their edges anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
Another one where what you could have done if you before you had put the rust down, and you might be able to do it to another model somewhere down the line. It was what, lead belcher is the base color you used?
Yeah, it's a little darker than that picture. Like I put some Abaddon black.
Okay, yeah.
with
So,
it,
but essentially lead belcher, really dark. You could use, instead of using silvers to highlight the edges, you could use say something like administratum gray, or a light gray tone, and very lightly picked out the edges of the blade, and that would actually give more of a feeling of more of a dulled metal, rather than going with a silver on the edges where it looks kind of like new, or like it's kind of worn away and it's bright metal underneath, and in fact would add to more of a dulled metal look to it. And so yeah, that's another route you could have gone if you were going to edge highlight that blade. You didn't have to go with, say, a silver. You could have went with a light gray, and that'll achieve a nice effect as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely good to know. Like he's actually like practice for this guy. Who, let's see if we get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's from Ultraforge, I think.
Yeah.
I
That's
just put
very
some dragon wings, and so he's probably gonna look the same as this guy, or similar. Like he was my practice before.
Well, it's always
and
good to practice. Have a practice model.
Yeah. And I tell you that I think it's Nurgle's rod, the technical
Yeah.
thing. That's so fun to use. Like, almost too fun
Yeah.
to paint with that. Like I had to restrain myself not to put too much on it.
Yeah, you gotta pull back your enthusiasm for goo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones out of those new technicals, Blood for the Blood God, Nurgle's Rot, the Oxide, the Neckel blah 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 Oxide,
Yeah.
is really good, and the Typhus Corrosion. Those ones are the best ones out of that. Rise of Rust, you didn't really need it. It's more of a fluorescent orange, but I mean, it's a nice color to have. The Agrelian Earth, Crackle Medium, okay, it's fine. Is that it? I think that might be it. But yeah, the other ones, you don't really need. But yeah, Blood for the Blood God's a handy one to have, and the Oxide one is a good one as well. Very handy.
that one I think I've used it more than I should have, like, because it just, like, those paints in particular feel like they almost feel like you're not only painting, you're adding something else to it. I don't know how to explain it, but
What you're doing when you're playing with those colors, like that Oxide color, and how you were painting your wolf, you're essentially employing more of a glazing technique, right? Because the way it looks,
Right.
I can see transitions on that fur, and you have that turquoise blue color that Oxide color is, and you're creating these different gradients of color. And if you allow the color to either, if you're deliberately applying it in more than one layer and allowing the color to build, then
Exactly.
you're that's glazing, right? That's what everybody does when they're glazing a model. And you could also lay down heavily and hope you get lucky with some transitions here and there, but being very deliberate is much better as you being more control. And yeah, that's what you're doing when you're glazing. So when you start to think about doing that with other colors, for example, your flesh tones, and you want to do that for your demons, and you're taking that very light flesh tone that you want to highlight to, you can break that color down to a very thin consistency and apply many little layers to build those highlights up. And that's glazing, and that's one of those techniques that a lot of painters use to really great effect, especially on small little surfaces like that.
Yeah, I mean, you made me think about, like, for instance, in the Herald of Nurgle. Like, I don't know if this is sort of what you're saying, but if I wanted to give him, like, his skin is very, like, again, he's very pale, like very white. Like, if I went with some sort of like bluish glaze, like, it's probably gonna give it like an oily, sort of an oily skin. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know anything, so I was just thinking, like, maybe, like, when a dead person, you put things so it doesn't rot.
Oh, rigor mortis. Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
no, but I mean, like what, it's not an undertaker. The people that take care of
Morticians?
yeah, dude, it's your language. Like, you should know this more than I do. Like, they put things in their skin,
Right?
right? So it ends up looking kind of oily.
Oh, formaldehyde? Is that what you're talking about? The embalming fluid?
Yeah, embalmment. Yeah,
Yeah.
that thing. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, maybe.
That took us a little while to get there, and I'm sure somebody watching going, "It's embalming fluid, you moron!" Right. Oh yeah, right. Embalming fluid.
Like,
Yeah.
like, maybe if I wanted to give him like a sort of a shiny, oily appearance.
Well, to go for that shiny, oily appearance, you can go with like a semi gloss varnish to finish the flesh, so it'll have a bit of a waxy quality, right? If you threw gloss on, then he just looks slimy, and if you threw in matte, then it feels too dry. And so a semi gloss is a nice in between where you get a little bit of shine but a little bit of matte, and you can essentially just make that by taking Lamaine medium and Ard coat, mixing them in like a roughly 1-to-1 fashion, and applying that deliberately to the flesh areas. Throwing in blue and stuff like that into that flesh could also be really fun. I think in those flesh areas, especially like in his armpits and in the folds of his flab, I think allowing more of that Druchii violet to build up in those areas. To get a little bit more contrast and get a little bit more of that sore kind of rigor mortis kind of look, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because he's so fat and he's so heavy that the blood is just kind of stopping in those areas, and you know what I mean? Like, it's pooling up in his organs, and you know what I mean? Like, you gotta just get really kind of gross with it and just kind of think about what's not working right with this guy, that his ass is that fat, right? So.
Yeah, I think you said it, like the Nurgle models, like they kind of tell you play with the different paints and stuff that you have.
Yeah.
Like they just, they're asking for it.
Yeah.
Right.
They're begging for all sorts of color blends to occur, and Nurgle models, like orc models, like there's almost no wrong way to do them. Like you can pretty much do them any which way you like, and it's gonna work in some form or fashion or other, And so
let me ask you something real quick. I know we're probably a little short on time, but
I don't even know how long
we've rambled way too much. You have a lot of orc players following you, and maybe they can shed some light into this.
Okay.
Like, you know how in the whole lore of orcs, they say that red paint makes you go faster?
Yeah.
Like, where do you think that comes from? Like, I mean, really, the first thing I thought was, okay, orcs are green, so you want people to paint the vehicles red because it's the color that the complementary color. That makes sense. Maybe that's why. I also thought, I don't know what in the 80s, red, fast, Ferraris, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like you're into this hobby a lot longer than I am, so maybe you could answer that question that I've had since the first day.
I think you're on the right track. As far as why it's red that goes faster, I think it's the same reason we paint fire trucks red. It's it's an emergency. It's an eye-catching color. I think you're on the right track. It's Ferrari red, right? All race cars are painted red, right? It's a fast color. Yellow, yellow's all right, but red is it's hot, and it's a sports car, and orcs are painting their buggies to look like sports cars because in their minds it is a sports car, right? As far as like where did Games Workshop get that, like borrow that from real life example, I'm not sure, other than maybe it is just a nod to sports cars, and maybe the whole Magnum PI, you're driving a red Ferrari kind of thing. Maybe it is simply as that, because I mean the other one is orcs, when they put war paint on, it's blue because blue is lucky.
Lucky, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only instance I can see of that is the Scots, right? Scottish people, like from Braveheart, right?
Yep.
They wore the blue face paint because I would imagine blue is lucky. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's all I've got as far as that. But yeah, as far as any other orc players out there, if they know, if it was written somewhere why a vehicle has to be red to go faster, let us know. Because I mean, I've been I'm not well steeped in orc mythology, but I mean, I've known that red goes faster. But as far as like how that term came to be or why in particular, and same with the blue, like I only understand that the one particular group of orcs, snake bites, they would always paint their faces blue, like half their face would be blue because blue is lucky, and so that's why they'd wear that war paint. It wasn't something like the Goths would do, right? And the Evil Sons, their entire tribe is reds, right? Because they build all the buggies and stuff like that, and so red is their clan's color. Goths, it's black and checkers, and Bad Moons, it's yellows and fiery shapes. Snake bites, it was the snakes, and they have leathers and they have the blues on them. And blood axes, it was camouflage patterns and very militarized looks to them, and stuff like that. Very Hume kind of looks But yeah, as far as where the red goes faster, I'm not sure. It could be simply Magnum PI, Ferraris, and they get all the girls.
It has to be something like that, right?
It could be as simple as that and dumb as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Offhand. We'll have to dig further into that one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. One of your many orc player fans.
Yeah, it does seem like there's quite a few, right? And I don't know why, because I'm an Eldar player, and I don't know why a bunch of orcs would all come flocking around me. You know? I don't know.
Yeah. Cody Rue probably knows.
Yeah, Cody Rue might know. Know. Who's another one? Oh, Clayton Tate. Clayton Tate might know. He's a big orc player. Well, he loves orcs anyway. I don't know if he loves them, but whatever. I don't know. So, okay. So, Giancarlo, Johnny Wraith. Did I say it right this time? Giancarlo? Giancarlo? Giancarlo.
Mm-hmm.
Giancarlo.
Yes.
I'm just saying it 100 more times so I keep getting it right. That's all I'm doing, man. That's all I'm doing.
I'm just trying to be polite.
I'm just trying to be polite.
Trying to do it. You're not letting me.
You keep messing up my name, you stupid idiot. Anyway, I think we learned a little bit today about Johnny Wraith. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for the viewers out there?
Just if for the new guys, just be patient. We all want to paint everything to the best of standards. But I think if I've learned anything is that you gotta be patient and it'll come on its own. So yeah, just enjoy it.
Life's too short, right?
Yeah, hopefully not too short, because I wanna get to a decent level. Like I wanna finish. So yeah,
I want to get my army done. I don't want to get hit by a bus tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so that was Giancarlo, hopefully I'm saying that right again, Johnny Wraith, joining us today. If you want to be part of the conversation, in the link below is my Skype handle. Send me a message, and we'll schedule up a time, and we'll sit down and we'll film one of these, and we'll get to know you. We'll get to answer some of your questions you might have, and I don't even know how long we ran today. We ran a long time, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we ran a bit long today, but that's okay because it was so interesting, and of course, I can only mess up a guy's name so many times. I'm kind of shocked he didn't hang up on me actually, but anyway, take care of your brushes. They'll take care of you, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.